Okay. All right, here we go, guys. Community night. I feel like I need my professional voice on like last night. I'm like, hell, this is just community night. We can just be relaxed and we can just be whatever we want to be. And so I'm recording because people have asked to be able to still see it if they can't be with us. It's not like this is important stuff. It's just fun stuff. But if they want to feel like they want to watch the recording because they missed the fun stuff, so be it. Obviously, I did not dress for the occasion. You guys are getting me right from the gym. I'm trying to literally fit everything into my days before I go on vacation, and it's got my stress level like to here. It's like everything's like calculated. All my moves are calculated.
Where are
So
you going this year?
we are going back to the Dominican Republic.
No.
Uh, so yeah, sometimes we bounce back and forth between Mexico and Dominican Republic, and it's a fun story because for those of you that are newer to me, and not that I, always. I mean, it's once a year, right? That's it. I get away once a year. But the fun story is that we go away with our Canadian friends, and they're my token. I'm like, we have Canadian friends, and it's fun because everything is so different. So we always have lots of different conversations based on, like we've been messaging them, and everything for them is in Celsius, and everything is in meters, and it's bizarre because it's like, right, they speak English, but it's like it's really like a different language in that sense. Cheryl, you could jump in. I see your hand up. Just jump in.
Hey, I appreciate it being recorded because half the time I miss it or I forget it's
Girl,
Wednesday.
I literally recorded just for you, but I'm
And
happy
I
to
love
see
it.
you. I'm
And I
happy.
appreciate it because half the time I'll start watching and then, hey, I may get a customer.
Absolutely. You got to make sure you take care of that. But no, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
and I'm sure and I hope that there's other people that will enjoy it as well. And as long as we're, again, as long as we're paying for the recording opportunity because of other things we have going on, then I can certainly justify it. And if it's popularity vote, we'll certainly continue it. So I'm glad you're with us at least for now. I do
Yeah.
hope you get a customer though. So I do
I
hope you
mean,
have to get away.
it was only negative 25 this past weekend up here.
Hey, you know what? It should save on your electric bills because you don't have to work so hard to keep your ice cream frozen, right?
You don't want to see my electric bill right now.
I don't know. I have a refrigerator out on the porch that can't seem to regulate itself. It was the funniest thing. See, this is what I'm like, the community night. Who knows what we're going to talk about? Jill goes out to go get her lunch. She opens up the door and she screams because this like shot goes off. She's like, I literally thought I was getting shot at. When she opened up the door, there was a can of soda that
And it froze.
froze and it exploded and it shot out on her all over the floor. And then but it scared her because it was literally as she opened up the door.
Like a
And I
gunshot.
felt terrible. And then she's like, here's another one about to blow. And these were like little mini cans of ginger ale. So she like points it out. So now, like, as if this is some like, FBI like bomb removal, I like grab it and then I'm like walking it into the house to put it into the sink and then just let it kind of defrost there. I was like, I detonated it or deactivated. I don't know, whatever that word is. I'm not Secret Service here. So yeah, so I don't know. I'm thinking we can just turn everything off because things
Yeah,
are so
I
damn.
wish. Oh, my soda in my garage
Cottage
froze
cheese
and
was frozen.
exploded.
Everything is frozen. So
Yep. Oh yeah, my soda in my garage right next to my door froze and shot all over my door. I'm like, I'll clean it up in spring.
well, and if anybody is in upstate New York and you don't know Cheryl, that is Cheryl, and she is the proud owner of an ice cream shop up there. So, yeah. So, wait, what
Call
town
me
is it?
crazy.
What town?
It's Watertown.
Watertown.
Oh,
Yep.
that's pretty far up there, right? Isn't that right on the border?
Half an hour from Canada.
So see that? So it's like when I go to visit my Canada friends, then maybe I'll look you up.
I might get you here. I keep trying to get people to have their animals sheared by you.
Hey, well, it's almost kind of the same thing. I keep trying to get people here to Long Island, but there's these bridges that people don't really like going across that they're kind of scared of. So, that kind of keeps people away sometimes.
Tabitha, I know
I've made it
somebody.
there over the bridges.
Wait, what, Tracy?
I've made it there.
Yes, yes, you have. But it's daunting, right? I mean, if you're not, I mean, I think people think they have to drive like right through like New York City, Manhattan to get to me, which is not the
No.
case. But you do have to get over bridges and you do have to deal with traffic and, you do have to deal with all of that, which I can understand is a little intimidating.
Well,
So,
if I didn't own an ice cream shop, I would be there.
so, so Tabitha, I know somebody who grew up on the island, right? And she doesn't drive over bridges. She's lived there her entire life. What do you mean? That's what she says. But obviously, she goes to the beach. She goes to Jones Beach. So she must drive over a bridge, right? You can't get there,
That's
from the
true. That
mainland in
is
Long
true.
Island
But
without,
those
right?
are those are not as intimidating bridges, and maybe potentially because the end goal, right, is to get to the beach
Right.
versus knowing that you're like, I mean, that is funny because a bridge is a bridge, right?
That's right. And you lived on an island all your life. Like, give me a break. But before I forget, I was watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills the other day.
Can I
And
just tell you, I miss my regular cable. My husband
Mhm.
canceled it on me. I am putting this on recording. I'm so mad about it, and I miss my Bravo channel. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay.
Fill me in.
Okay, well you'll appreciate this. So it's Beverly Hills, right? So Kyle is going to check out this wedding venue for her daughter, right? The
Okay.
daughter wants this real rustic ranchy thing. She gets there and they have alpacas, right?
Oh,
They're sheared with like a mohawk, like they're completely shaved except for the center part
across the back.
across the back and the head. Yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
all it reminded me of was a mohawk, right?
Right, right.
And I'm thinking Tabitha would never do that to her.
Well, hey, I do shear my alpaca Cusco. He gets kind of a mullet, which was not
Mhm.
really the intention. The intention was I leave him with like a mane down the back of his neck so he looks like a pony, but then people started calling it a mullet. And I'm like, well, that's not really quite as cute. But hey, if you want to call it a mullet, whatever. People think it's cute no matter.
Business in the front, party in the back.
Exactly.
But I just thought you would appreciate that. And I forgot that you were into Bravo. So,
Oh, yes, yes. Like I said, I used to love my Bravo. Now I don't know what I do. I just binge watch my Netflix things, which, by the way, everybody knows I love me a good Love is Blind. And the new season, I think, starts either the 13th or the 14th, appropriately. So I'll be very excited about that.
Did you check out Heartland? The
No, no, I
horses.
did not. I really have to say, after the fact that although I was just about to say, since I had stopped having to like sort so many curls, but like literally behind me on the table is a pile of curls that I quick sorted and washed today, so that there was some in stock when I was leaving for vacation. But when I don't have those monotonous kinds of things, that kind of kicks back my my need to binge watch stuff to just keep me entertained and occupied. So I've been pretty good. I haven't really been on TV too much or anything like that. So, and I've been busy. Everybody's keeping me busy, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing. But I do want to get back, and not that but I want to get back to my little Canada friend story, just because I think it's neat. And then you guys are going to be tortured and have to see lots of stories and things like that from my vacation, of course. But yeah, so the first year I finally convinced Christopher to take me on vacation, I fought for years and years and years, because I was always used to being able to go away or do something, and that man had really never left the existence of Long Island, so he was a bit sheltered in that sense. So I remember distinctly I had a very rough year, like business wise, and so I guess for whatever reason, it finally clicked that that was something that would make me happy. Thank God. So for my birthday that year, he got us to go on vacation. And I think that first year, yeah, we actually went to Dominican Republic. So anyway, the second year, we decided, because now, like, he sort of liked it this much. I did not think we were going to go back again. And I literally have pictures. I was like crying with my luggage, dragging my feet, like not wanting to leave because I thought for sure this was going to be it. This was going to be my one and only vacation. But sure enough, thankfully after that, the tradition kind of continued. So the next year we decided to go to Jamaica. I'm trying to decide if I'll share, but I'll share. So my opinion of Jamaica, we had a nice time, but I will never ever forget our introduction to Jamaica. Once we got off the plane, we get our private, we get a taxi service to go to the resort. Literally, our first introduction to Jamaica is this very tall, large man, butt ass naked, walking down the road, just living his best life on whatever he was on. I don't know. And I was like, I had to take a picture. I was just like, I will never, ever forget that was my introduction to Jamaica. I mean, it did get a little bit better, but I will say we didn't have the best time. Our resort, we were mostly just being brats. The level of service we were supposed to be on was like overbooked. But that's actually how we ended up making friends with our Canadian friends, because they as well were lamenting. They were in the same situation of, I guess, whatever service we were supposed to be in was overbooked. And so then there we are, first world problems. We're like, we can't go into that place because, we're stuck at this level. And anyway, so that's how we met them. And we just kind of all hit it off and very loosely kept in touch. I mean, it's not like we really keep in touch a lot throughout the year. And somehow or other, the tradition just started. And that, I think we always try to kind of go back and look, but it's got to be well over 10 years now, because we missed 2 years during COVID, where obviously nobody was traveling. And then kind of a year after, we were a little slower to pick back up with that. So this is now our third year post-COVID to be back with them again. So it's just kind of a neat little story, because it's, again, not even like we've gone there to visit them a couple times, surprise birthday party here or there. They enjoy cruiser, like road bikes. I don't know what the right word is for it. It's motorcycles, but it's more like long distance, riding on bikes. And so they came down here, actually, I think just this past year. But so, we'll kind of see each other here and there. We'll drop a text here and there. We'll wish them their holidays that are different than ours and stuff like that. But other than that, it's not like we really chit chat. And then all of a sudden somebody will pick up the phone and be like, all right, time to make vacation plans. And there we go. And it's kind of fun too, because in many ways, Steve, the husband, he's a Leo. His birthday is just 2 days apart from mine. So after not having seen them for 2 years with COVID, when we all got back together again, I was like, this is why it works. Charmaine and Christopher are so funny in the sense that they have kind of a lot more in common in terms of the dynamics of their relationship. And Steve and I are a lot more alike, both being Leos and things. And, I mean, don't get anything wrong. It's not like wife swap episode, but, it's just the dynamics. I know somebody was going to drop that somewhere, so I figured I'd beat you all to it. But it's just the dynamics of just somebody else to talk to and interact with. And Steve also plays the guitar, and he has his own country band. So that's always fun, because it's always a big hit. I think actually that's pretty much how we kind of ended up meeting him. He really draws a crowd because he brings his guitar on vacation, and it's pretty fun. So he'll always have it poolside, and he's always, playing, and we're all singing. And of course, everybody gets into it. There's always a good round of, friends in low places gets everybody going. So it's kind of fun. So we have a good time. We have a good time. So they're already there. So they've been, dropping pictures and things and just kind of sending us little teasers every day. And then we're leaving Friday morning. And then actually they'll leave a day before us, and we'll have one more day afterwards. So that's that. So looking forward to it. I don't think we've been to this resort that we're going to. Sometimes we go back to the same resorts. We just kind of bounce around a little bit and try different things. So
Where,
that's
where in Canada do they live? What province?
I don't know. I know that they're pretty much just straight up from us. I know that doesn't help, but Canada is huge, right?
Right,
So I
right.
know that they're on the eastern side.
Hmm.
And Charmaine actually works for a not-for-profit, like in the governmental field. So that's always interesting. And it's if she still has the same job, I always get the whole recap. She actually works in relation to like women's health in Canada. So
Hmm.
a lot of times she'll actually end up coming to New York City for like conferences and summits and things like that because it's kind of international, national, that way. And I know that I want to say maybe she works in Ottawa. So
That's the capital, so that would make sense.
Mhm.
yeah. So I don't think they're too far out of that. Of course, as soon as they tell me the town they live in, it'll it'll
They're
come.
not far from me.
What's that?
They're not far from me.
No, they're really not that far from the New York border either, because I know at times we've sent them stuff, and so there are certain people in Canada that will have a PO box in New York to be able to do that. Oh, I forgot, I got to open up the chat. Sorry, guys. So
You can always ship to my shop.
what's that?
You can always ship to my shop.
So yeah, so that's again, I want to say where the town they live in is like it begins with a K, and then they also so it's funny, even in Canada they will have a cabin, which it's not a cabin, it's a house, but they have a shore house, or I think it's a lake house. And actually they spend a great deal of time there because I know Charmaine can work remote, and like the same thing for them. A lot of things changed post COVID, and Steve owns his own business, but I think he's kind of slowly looking to retire from that. So yeah, they live totally different lifestyles than of course what Christopher and I do, but it just works. So we have fun together. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, and I wanted to share, I just forgot to grab it out of the van. So I'm also excited because the one project for me that I wanted to take with me on vacation so I can learn about it and begin to use it is I bought a pair of the Ray-Ban Meta glasses.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I've been, hearing a lot about it, of course, and I see a lot of people in my circles, actually, interestingly enough, not so much with animals, but just different people I follow on social media, where you'll see their reels or their footage, and it'll say, with Ray-Ban Meta. And I finally had a chance. There's two people that I know that had them because, right, it's a big purchase. It's expensive. But so I really didn't want to make the purchase until I kind of heard and interestingly enough, where I go get my undercut shaved, one of the owners, they're young guys, he had a pair. So he let me try it on. We were talking about it. So yeah, so I kind of ran out to get a pair tonight. So I'm looking forward I figured I'll have a lot of downtime. I don't know about you guys. I'm not very good about when I buy something, or even like when you get a new phone or an upgrade. I just sort of like, I'll figure it out on the fly versus actually like sitting down and reading the manual or the instruction booklet, or even my brand new truck. There's still plenty of things that I have no idea how to do with it, and I also don't drive it enough to be able to kind of have more experiences with it. So I figured I'll bring these with me and read the manual since I'll have plenty of downtime and get myself acquainted with it. So I'm excited. I feel like for me, especially winter wise, but anytime, there's so many things that I wish I could capture with the animals mostly. But by the time you pull your phone out and you get the video on, they're done doing the fun stuff. So my goal is to, of course, be able to have these glasses on because it's so neat. All you do is just tell it to start recording, or you can tap it and it starts recording. And I was also reading up on it that you can live stream with it. So I'm looking forward to that because I feel like that will be really fun and have some great footage to be able to share with everybody a bit more. So that was my exciting purchase today. I was excited to share with you guys so that hopefully we'll get that into play and see how that goes. Make you guys feel like you're with me. I mean, the other thing too, right? I have to really update my videos of like how to felt soaps and different things like that. So I think all those things will be so helpful because it'll just be a lot easier just having it right here and giving you POV. I think the only negative side is whatever you're filming, you're never in it unless you have an opposing camera or something like that. But that's it. Has anybody else had any experiences with them or know anybody that has them? No, not yet. Look at that. Look at me being the pioneer. I'm excited. The only thing is they're not, I don't want to say they're not fashionable, but they're like a bit much. And unfortunately, the ones that I tried on today, of course, they had frames so that you could figure out which style you liked. But then there was a color and I was like, I want that color. They were like, well, it doesn't come in that. I'm like, well, then why did you give that to me as a sample? Because in my head, I'm like, now I want that. And guess what, Elizabeth Benson? It was brown. It was caramel. And I loved it. Loved
Of course.
it. Of course. But you know, the thing is, because otherwise you've just got these black, you know, like even when back when Ray-Bans were popular, I wore the tortoiseshell. I wore the, you know, the brown marbled one. And I just thought that was the best. And instead now you've got these black like glasses on and it's just very
Gnarly.
it's just very pronounced, I guess is the best way I can say it. So
Gnarly. That's what it is. It's gnarly.
I don't know what it is. It just there was one style that was very like cat's eye. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling like 50s librarian with this, not to mention they're black. So I was like, no, that one's not for me. But yeah, so there was a pretty brown, and then there was also this sort of like a kind of smoky blue. So truth told, I got these so I could learn about them, and there's a 30-day return policy. So then I think I'll be returning them and then getting the actual ones I want. I mean, I don't plan to like have a truck run over them, so it's really no big deal.
Is it in green?
Do they come in green?
Yes.
No.
Oh.
But the
okay.
lenses that I got. So that was the other thing too. I mean, look, in case if anybody needs a little education on it, you can either get, you know, clear frames, like if you're wearing them inside, you can buy the sunglass version, and then they make a transition version. So I wanted to get the transitions because obviously if I'm outside with the animals and things, but then if I'm coming inside, so of course there is a little restrictive, but the lens color, mine goes like from green to clear. I mean, it's not green. That was as close as I could get to having some green. So, but yeah, so that'll be fun. That'll be something for me to play with and with you guys. Let's see. Outside of that, that's kind of, I mean, what I would love to do is kind of circle around to a couple of things. Last night, I would love for anybody that, you know, feels so inclined that was with us to maybe say a few words. If anybody has any feedback or any impressions from our night with Linda, you just jump right in. Don't worry about it. You're so cute. Deb was raising her hand.
I had a great time. Larry didn't get to spend any time with us because he had a road commission meeting. And of course,
no, I
that's
know
the
you
one
guys
night
are
that,
looking forward to seeing it together.
well, we'll watch the film together tonight or maybe tomorrow. But of course, that was the one night that anybody came and had anything to complain about. So he didn't even get home until it was almost over.
Oh.
But I do have to say, I have never heard anywhere else about milking snails. That
Right?
was fun.
I almost hate to say, but you know, the whole program was in one direction, and then you never know what you're going to get. And it was, you know, and in a way, you know, I was trying to think of my best way to not describe it, but you know, I feel like overall, not to say it was a bit more
It's windy too.
somber. Sorry, I'm just guys, don't forget if you've got background noise, keep yourself on mute, just especially because we're recording. But yeah, so you know, I felt like it was a more serious, right? You know, it was a more serious topic or topics of in terms of what we were talking about versus some of her like very funny, anecdotal stories from past series that we've had. But I thought that was just such a like perfect way to kind of like bring it around, add a little humor to it. And I was fascinated by that, of course, because when you think about it, you think about squid and, the black ink. But and for anybody who missed this, Linda is I should, although I'm not, I should be like, and if you didn't hear about this, you can still for $15 purchase the link to watch the recording. But I won't do that. But you can. So I will say it's it is recorded. So even anybody who watched it, and I know Gina was mentioning she was maybe wanting to watch it over again. She called it on demand. So certainly anybody who was not with us live and you paid for it, you in that email we sent, you have that link to be able to watch it. So please take advantage of it. But at the same time, if somebody that's in our group had not joined on and you'd like to, just from the sounds of it, it's certainly still available for you to purchase, and you'll get the link. And so we have a week for you to be able to enjoy that. But yeah, I mean, she's going to Costa Rica. And so she was talking about, of course, anywhere she goes, she has to have some kind of fibery textile experience, always doing work, always doing something on the job. And how in the world she knew about this like one area where they harvest these snails that you can milk the snail for this beautiful like purple dye. So she was kind of telling us about all of that at the very end. It wasn't even part of the program. We were just kind of all chit-chatting. So that was super interesting. And then, of course, very funny in terms of her trying to figure out if she could manage to be part of this harvest. Because literally, what did they tell her? They told her it like only happened at certain times or a certain time of year based on like the lunar calendar or something like that.
The
I think that's
moon
what I heard too.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
they
It's the
moon
moon and
moon
tides,
and
right?
tides. That's what it
Tides,
was.
moon and tides.
The
Yeah.
moon and the tides, the moon and the tides. Yeah. So she was asking the woman, she's like, so how does it look for when I'm there? So it was very interesting. But anybody else that joined and has any feedback and anybody, I mean, of course, and dare I say, Alina, I know you never had heard of Linda Courtwright before. I don't know if there's anybody else that was new to her.
No,
well,
I came to you through Linda. So a year ago at your 12 Days of Christmas,
Oh,
you had her on,
I'm like,
and
of course, there's not that many of you. I'm literally trying to look for like who's talking. So yes, so you met me through Linda last year.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and
Now,
so I've followed her for years.
have you been on a tour with her before?
No, we were two of us were booked to go, and then COVID got it canceled.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that tour this summer. So Scotland and the Faroe Islands and all things wild fibers. Yep.
Lovely.
So
I'm
Now,
yeah.
how were you introduced? Because the interesting thing is, I feel like most of my community, previous community, which of course you're now part of, I feel like most people were unfamiliar with Linda, whereas, I mean, I'd known her for years for other reasons. So how were you introduced to her?
I got introduced to her through the Wild Fibers magazine. I mean, like issue 1, and subscribed all the way through. And so I followed all the stuff she's done, and I bought her yarn and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I really knew of her more, I think, through our llama community. She has been a keynote speaker at our llama conferences, several times, over the years. And I had always, of course, admired her magazine and, used to carry it in the early days and, have it available at our yarn shows and different things like that, just trying to introduce people to her. But I think really for the majority of us here, it wasn't until I had her on as a guest at TDOC in the very beginning that I think. But Elizabeth, jump in.
It was just, it's not fiber related, so I didn't ask about it, but I was just thinking like the U.S. sent China 4 musk ox over time, and it's like, but so I'm just wondering if that's the why. I mean, if that's the real reason China sent us pandas, so that maybe they think the United States is a better place to raise pandas because they have such a terrible track record apparently with raising a muskox. So okay, let's send them to the United States so our pandas will be safer. So
yeah, well, and if you remember too, though, she did say that there's conflicting, right? There was conflicting stories as to whether or not we got the pandas first, or if we sent them the muskox first, and then that's why we got the pandas. So there seems to be conflicting stories related to that. Because I remember in my head thinking it was kind of a like which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of story, right? So I mean, I guess neither here nor there. It to me, the impression I got of it was more of just a gift of I don't even want to say kindness. It was like a political gift. It sounded like more than anything. And perhaps, they are much better at raising pandas clearly than they are, muskox. And it's funny because, yeah, when she was talking about the hardware disease of why it seemed to be that the muskox kept dying, I'd never heard it talked about in that long scientific word that she said she practiced so that she could say it. But it is in the reticulum is actually, I'm going to nerd out on you guys, but the reticulum, which that was part of that long word, it had like a reticula something in it because the stomach of the cow is in 4 parts, and the reticulum is the part that's supposed to trap anything that should not be going through the rest of its digestive system. And when something punctures that, then that is what is called hardware disease. Now, if you guys really, really want a fun fact, I wish I had one, but to combat, I'm just laughing because I'm like, this is community night. And you guys know it is so off the charts where we go in any direction. But I think it's so interesting. I think you guys will as well. So to try to, clearly they did not have this back in the day, otherwise they would have gave it to their muskox. But to try to combat hardware disease, which is the actual puncturing of the lining, it is a common known fact that that's what that compartment does, right? It collects anything foreign. So what you do is they make magnets. It's called a rumen magnet, and it looks like a huge bullet, like huge. It's maybe about this long and about this wide, and it's a magnet that you feed to the cow. You just as if you've ever had to like pill pop your dog or your cat. So they make a big pill popper for cows and you feed them the magnet. And because it's metal, it travels to the reticulum where it stays. And then should the cow ingest anything foreign and it gets trapped into the reticulum, now it attaches to the magnet as opposed to penetrating the lining and whereby creating hardware disease. Now, you guys did not know you signed up for that, did you?
Did not know that.
Go ahead, Beth.
What I really liked, of course, with what my husband does, was all of the stuff about the glaciers and the what all's happening with the glaciers and climate problems. And I was telling him all about it on the phone because he was out of town. It was like, man, I would have been having to pay another $15 for him to be listening to the climate stuff because that was so amazing that the climate receding glaciers was causing all these stillbirths and everything and that the farmers and stuff up in the Andes were, they were losing their flocks. I mean, all of the alpacas and llamas and stuff up in the Andes, that they were losing all of them. I was so sad. I was practically crying because
I know that's the part where I said it was a bit somber, and it was, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, of course, to some, I don't want to say small degree, but to some small degree, there's plenty of things that we all as citizens and citizens of this earth, can be doing to at least try to slow down some of these effects. But yeah, when you really hear about it, and none of us think about how it then impacts in all those different ways. So it's hard, especially because at some point in time you really hope it's not going to ultimately create the end of one thing or another. But at the same time, for anybody who did not join us, the really cool thing, right, was the gentleman that created the kind of artificial glaciers, to then be able to try to supplement in some ways, which was really interesting too.
Yeah, of course, now he's in jail because he's done that sort of thing.
Yes.
Because he's outspoken. Now they put him in jail over stuff.
Yep. No, well, there's that, right? There's different places than ours, where even just the freedom of speech and freedom of expression sometimes does not, work in your favor in that way. But yeah, so I mean, it was right. So we had the whole political part about Nixon and the muskox and the Ling Ling and Sing Sing that didn't do a thing.
Thing.
Remember, that was the big
That's
thing.
Hilarious.
That was hilarious, and it's so easy to remember, right? And then of course the glaciers, and then what am I forgetting in the middle?
You're forgetting the nudie sheep.
That's right. And actually, Ruth Ann, who's not with us tonight, Ruth Ann and I were just talking about that on Instagram, and then also Stephanie, who's not with us. I shared a story that she posted. She was in a homeschool group, and somehow or other, oddly enough, one of the homeschool group's mascot was a Barbados blackbelly sheep. But it was funny because I said to her, I go, I'm going to share this. And so if you haven't caught the story and you were with us last night, do take a look at it. But I said to her, I go, the color is correct. I go, but that's a pretty beefy Barbados blackbelly sheep. I said, they're normally very thin in like slender is the way to describe them, and they're very wiry, right? And this just looked like a chunkamunka. So it was funny though that she was just with us last night for the presentation, and then that popped up for her. So yeah, that was a whole other conversation, of which maybe, I don't know, like drop in the chat if you're handy, having the chat by you, drop in the chat if you were unfamiliar with hair sheep, so you can just say did not know. I mean, as knitters, like she was saying, so many people know about fibered animals. But of course, I don't want to say my longtime lifers, but somewhere along the way, I'm sure my longtime lifers at least might have heard it before. But great. So Alina and Deborah. So that's excellent. I mean, but yeah, there's a whole strain. I mean, the 3 breeds that she showed in particular of what we call hair sheep. And the Barbados blackbelly in particular, because it comes from Barbados. So a lot of times these breeds also do very well in warmer climates, more arid climates. And one of the reasons, which was not part of her talk, but in some instances, they are breeding woolies, as we call them, wool sheep, with these hair sheep, because if you're not breeding for wool, the thing about these breeds also is they are a bit more disease resistant. So they're a bit hardier because they are, used to more arid environments, lack of vegetation, high temperatures, all those kinds of things. So yeah, I've not had, actually, yeah, I have. I mean, I've had experiences with Barbados blackbelly longer than any of the others. I've had experiences with Katahdins and then Dorpers now too. And some of now, if you go back, if anybody goes back to watch it again, I would say look at the replay, and in the pictures that she was showing, you'll see some of them have patches on them like they are wearing toupees. So they are hair sheep, which means, yes, they're not totally nudie, like they're not totally naked. They do grow a hair. and it is meant to shed out. So it's kind of like a hair slash wool, but it's meant to shed out. And oftentimes there will be patches that don't totally slough off or shed out. So sometimes I will be called in, and other shearers as well. Actually, I remember if you watched TDOC with Aaron, my friend Aaron that was shearing, he talked about Frankie's flock from Liberty Farms. That's how the two of them were connected, both guests on TDOC, that he was called in to shear their hair flock for the ones that, you know, just didn't really lose all of their hair. So it's not that they're completely naked, nudie, as she was calling it, but that's, you know, seemingly what they're referring them to in Australia and New Zealand. I had to laugh because, again, for those of you that have been with me, we will refer to when we give a llama a full haircut. So alpacas are traditionally shorn head to toe. So that's nothing unusual. But a llama has many different haircuts that we might do. And so when we give a llama a full haircut, we call it a nudie. So I will say, you know, oh, we just gave this one a nudie haircut, or, you know, this one's naked, but we'll call it a nudie. So that's where I use that expression. So I kind of chuckled, of course, with that as well. So, but yeah, so, you know, again, for anybody that has jumped on, and again, if you didn't get a chance to be part of it, you know, the link is still available. You can still make that purchase. And we figure what last night was. My days are all screwed up. I keep thinking today is Thursday. So last night was the Tuesday night. So it's available through next Tuesday. And then after that, we take it down because, of course, she can certainly rerun that program for another group. So that's her livelihood. That's how she makes her living. So thank you again, though, to everybody that supported myself and supported her. So it was lovely. And I feel like when she got to the end of it, right, because I literally did have to squeeze that out of her this year. I was like, look, you got to pull something out of your hat. You've got plenty of stories in your pocket. And she's so excited about Greenland. And, you know, I said, you know, you have to keep getting yourself out there if you want to talk about Greenland and get people to join you on a trip. So I feel like by the time we got to the end of it, she was kind of like, there's more here. And I was like, of course there's always more, right? So who knows? Who knows? We'll have to see if we can get, you know, a part two.
I want to say thank you for introducing us to her, because I wouldn't have known her without you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And, you know, that's what this is all about, right? You know, this is, you know, not always Long Island Yarn and Farm, and half the time it isn't. And TDOC especially, that is what it's all about, is just introducing you to new people. And, you know, maybe everybody's not going to be your cup of tea, and certain people have more easily accessible venues to follow. Maybe others don't. But either way, it just adds a little bit more, you know, to your knowledge bucket, I guess, if you will. And I have to say, I find that this is always such an engaging group and an interested group, which I think is really cool. And I know more off topic of knitting, crocheting, and textiles seems to always be the stuff that people enjoy even more, which I think kudos to you guys for that, for not just kind of, you know, sticking in your lane. And I just am looking in the chat, and I know Jillian, she's mentioning that she got the book, Driving Home Naked. That was our large animal veterinarian, Melanie, that we had on. She said it was a good book.
Yeah, I got it on Kindle. It was great. I thought it was fun. Yeah.
Good. That was funny. She, so I guess, of course, the name of it, you know, as well. And I know Patty, I remember she had said that she had picked it up. And I'm glad, you know, that was one of the things that I think sometimes, as I mentioned to you guys, I love to make shopping easy, right? And sometimes if you just know you can just grab it from me, just for anything other than ease of not having to go and find it. But I am so glad that some of you went out of the way to get it, because there really wasn't any economical way for me to have it be available, which was kind of interesting in that sense. Doesn't really give many opportunities, I feel like, for her, you know, to be able to get it out there in other people's hands, who can then get it out to other people, you know, in a wholesale sense. So I'm really glad some of you went out of your way to get that. And I still have my copy. I haven't read it, but maybe I should take that with me on vacation too. Then what happens? I get on vacation and then I'm like, I have too much to do and I don't get to any of it.
But you can read it on the plane, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a long read. You can read
Oh,
going
well,
and
that's good to know.
going and coming. And you might well get so engrossed you continue it. Actually, it's kind of fun.
I'm sure. No, and you know what, again, it's everybody loves an easy read, right? Just something nice, and fun, and enjoyable. But at the same time, I'm sure there's things in there that she talks about that I can, relate to maybe more than somebody else who's not involved. So that's always fun too. Yeah. But I'm glad that you guys got at least some enjoyment out of that. And yeah, I mean, of course, just kind of bouncing off of that, don't forget, even actually getting Marley Bird on this year, even though I know who she was, that was a recommendation, from a fiber friend. So, if there's somebody in your community that you appreciate, you love listening to, or maybe somebody that you want to know more about, please don't hesitate to throw me suggestions. Because, that's kind of how this all works. So you very well might have somebody in your pocket that that I don't. And, again, everybody that I have on TDOC, I maybe kind of loosely know, although the alpaca lets people, right? They, I didn't know them from a hole in the wall, and they were great. Just jumped right
They were
off.
super. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really just as enjoyable for me. So I look forward to it. And sometimes I have things planned way in advance, like I said, and then sometimes I kind of wait to see how the year evolves, right? Because I might cross paths with somebody and start working with them, and then that becomes a great guest. So, I kind of have two different directions in which I come about my guests. And Deborah in the chat is saying she has a couple of scarves that she knit from Kiviot. Now, was that a Kiviot yarn that you had purchased, or where did you get your hands on the Kiviot?
Well, it was like 25 years ago. I was teaching at the Knitwit in Olathe, Kansas. Okay. And one of the women there came back from a trip to Alaska and brought some yarn back. And everybody loved it so much that Jan, the owner, started carrying it. Well, it's lace weight because it is so freaking warm. If you want to knit one of these things out of worsted weight, you're going to die. You just will, it'll be too hot. But so a lot of the people who bought the yarn then didn't want to knit it. And then I had all of these best friends showing up and saying, Deborah, would you knit this for me? And of course I did. But this is the one I made for me. And it is hand dyed. And this is the one I made for Larry. And it is natural fiber.
That's a natural color.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. I don't know why I thought it was a bit more of a tannish color, like a lighter color.
Well, I would have thought so too. I actually did not meet the muskox. So I have it only on secondhand that it's natural color. But it says it was not dyed. This one, obviously, I mean, it's purple and maroon. Clearly, they don't come in that color naturally. So
it would be fun, but no, they don't.
It was very fun to work with.
Now, is that 100%?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And they weigh nothing. I mean, it says it's an ounce. And honestly, I made scarves out of it because it was so flippin' expensive. I did not want to waste even an inch if I didn't have to.
Yeah.
And well worth it. They're lovely.
I'm hoping to get
Go ahead, Beth.
I'm hoping to get to see one when I go to Alaska this summer.
Nice.
Oh, I hope you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a research station with the University of Alaska near Fairbanks, and I'm hoping we get to drive out and see the muskox at the research station. And they sell it, and it is like $150 an ounce.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like it goes far, though, as well. I'm curious, since it was lace weight, Deborah, but at the same time, like you said, very warm, did you use a larger needle? Like, is it more open?
Larry's is not, because this was the first one. So I used a 0.5 needle with it, which I inherited from someone a long time ago. I haven't actually even seen one that size in the store.
Gail is like, oh my God, that's exactly me. I'm like, I definitely don't even own that needle, and I would never own that needle size.
I was younger then and my hands were much more supple then, so it wasn't all that bad. But then when I got to mine and I knew how warm this was, this is knit on a size 3.
Okay.
So it still is incredibly lacy. Can you see the lace in it at all?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. But much easier to work on, much easier. And we had a Great Dane at the time, Lacey Jane Dane, who thought it smelled amazing and she just wanted to crawl up in my lap every time I was knitting on it. So there are lots of memories involved with this scarf. Not
Oh,
all of them now are ones that we want to repeat, but they were lovely experiences when we had them.
nice, nice. Now, has anybody else had a chance to knit with Kivia before? I know there was I know that there was a company like back in the day. I don't even know if it's still. I want to say it was called like World of Fibers or
There's Wind Valley Muskox that sells it.
no. This was like a Maine company. Meaning not a Maine, like, but this was again, I don't want to say even like a bigger company, but it was a larger company that carried all different kinds of fibers. And I just remember like World of Fibers or something along those lines. And that was the only time I had ever seen it. Also in terms of like spinning fibers and things like that was also, and sorry guys, I'm just kind of running through because somebody's got background noise, so I'm muting all of you, but you can unmute yourself when you want to talk. So yeah, I just
so there were two places. One of them I think was Windy Valley that was at Rhinebeck years ago, and I actually have a couple of skeins, balls of it, which I've never quite gotten around to working on because I'm a little afraid of it. But it was absolutely beautiful, and so that would have been probably like 17, 18 back then. But I don't know if they're still coming to Rhinebeck.
Yeah, I was just trying to quick Google it. I'll have to look into that a little bit more because I just remember this. I'm like, this is going back a bit, but I just remember it is a company that had a lot of unusual different types of fibers, in that sense. But yeah, and I've not, other than that, I mean, I've not really had a chance to experience it, I guess, in that sense.
And the other really expensive and fine yarn, which was, I also got like one strand because it was, one hank because it was expensive, is Vicuna.
Sure. Yeah, I knew that's where you're going to go with that. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Again, this company too that I'm thinking of, and maybe they just had the roving. That could also be it. But yes, they had things like that, just all those unusual types of fibers and a lot of times too, right? The cost also, I don't know if people maybe understand it, but it also has to do with not only the amount that is yielded off of the animal, but the means in which it has to be harvested. So I'm not as familiar with the muskox, although I know it is combed, but I know also they can go around and just collect it, as it kind of like sheds. But with the vicuña, for instance, to the best of my knowledge, I feel like I remember reading that they only get 2 ounces from each vicuña, and it's more from like the bib when they're shearing it. So, again, if you think about the amount that you're getting from each animal, a lot of that is involved in, the cost factor. I remember the buffalo fiber too, the buffalo down. That was kind of a thing for a while. Buffalo Gold, right? That was a company. And we actually even have a buffalo farm on Long Island. I think it's still there because there's a restaurant that's based around it. It's a real estate guy. His name is Ed Tuccio. And his wife is involved with horses, but he has a buffalo farm. and they would process the buffalo. And then he has a restaurant in Riverhead, which is kind of east of me. It's kind of a pretty big hub where the Long Island looks like an alligator mouth. And the tavern that he has out there would feature, you know, buffalo meat on the menu in many different ways, which was always kind of neat. But I know that you would, I believe the only way really to get it from the buffalo is either when they are slaughtered or to go around and collect the fluff that has, you know, shed off of them as they're rubbing against things. So I feel like there's a bit of like a danger factor, right? In harvesting some of these fibers as well. It's one of those things you would see on like those episode of Dirty Jobs, if you guys remember that show. So I guess there's got to be a cost factor if you're putting your life at risk also to be able to harvest all of these. So yeah, so I mean, hey, lots of good things from all of it. And looks like Cheryl had to jump off. I hope that means she had a customer, which would be great. And Gail also just said her goodbye. She had to run off, but that's great though. And you know, Tracy as well. Jeez. So and I don't mean to say jeez. It's like I looked at the time. I was like, all right, we're not doing too bad. It's only 8:00. So, and I didn't mean to like make everybody be silent. Now I feel like I'm talking to nobody. We just have to be careful of the background noise. That's all. So please continue to chime in. Now I know that was, you know, last night, of course. So I'd love to, I mean, we kind of was showing some different things. So let's take a little bit of a break from my stuff, even though I have stuff for you guys. I'd love to hear what you guys are working on. I mean, it's the dead of winter. It's been cold as hell out there, and it's a perfect time for knitting. I mean, we're post-holiday, so I would assume you're beyond any of your holiday knitting, perhaps. I mean, although there are the IOUs, right? You know, you just put a little note in somebody's package and, you know, tell them it's coming. But so what are we working on? Anybody?
Well, I'm working on embroidery right now.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, I mean, half the time Beth is sharing that with us. Do you have anything handy to be able to show?
Well, yeah, so I'm doing a cross stitch thing. It's 365 little circles. So if I do one a day, I can get it done in a year, but I'm doing more than one a day. So I don't know if you can see it.
Now, ultimately,
wow.
what is that going to end up being?
I'll probably make it in, I'll probably get it framed unless I can find somebody to make it into a pillow for me.
Okay.
So,
And is that a pattern that you're following, I assume?
yes, it's a pattern. If you hold on a second, I can show you the pattern.
Yeah, because I guess, you know, of course, what I would always be curious is like what draws people to different patterns, right? Whether you're knitting, crocheting, cross stitching, you know, what is it that you like about it? Is it, you know, something that you're going to look for to use as decor? And so what drew you to the pattern, Maria? I know she's getting it. Now, Maria's also my purple girl.
Right?
So she's a big fan of purple.
So this is what it's supposed to look like.
So I'm curious.
And I just thought it was, because it's actually pretty simple, you know?
Okay.
And I like the idea of that, oh, if I just do one a day, I can do it in a year, you know? And it's my UFO challenge. Does everybody know what a UFO is?
Unfinished object.
Yes. So.
But wait, what do you mean?
So to get it done by September.
Oh, wait, what do you mean it's your UFO challenge?
Okay, so I'm a member of the Embroiderers Guild of America. It sounds really fancy smancy, but it's not. Okay. And as I said previously in another meeting, we define embroidery as anything you do with a threaded needle. So right now I'm doing cross stitch. I have another one that's a needle point that I'm working on. So it's anything with a threaded needle. So when we do the thing with Kimberly, that's embroidery. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
well, technically, I mean, considering it is, because you're going to learn to embroider on your
knits.
Right.
Yes. So we have chapters, and I belong to a few chapters, and so very often we will have a program where you sign up for a challenge to finish one of your unfinished pieces.
Okay.
And you get a year, and depending upon the chapter, they might give you a gift certificate, or you get entered into a drawing or whatever. But it's just, Now ask me how many UFOs that I have signed up for that I'm going to complete that I've actually completed, and I can count them on one hand. And this is going on 20 years. You know what I mean? So, and that doesn't even include the knitting UFOs. You know, so but yeah. I so I was working on this tonight because it's something simple I can do while I'm listening. You know,
Now,
this is
I'm
something I can do
curious
while I watch
because
TV.
based on the picture, but yet like the way the parts that you've completed. So is there
Hmm.
a rhyme or reason to what colored circles you're doing?
Oh yeah, I'm not making up the colors. Like okay, so there's 6 pages of the chart. You know, and each of the circles are a little bit different, and then there's the key to the color. I like reading charts, so that's why I'm accountant.
Wow.
Okay, so anyway, I can't do surface embroidery very well. So that's why I'm looking forward to this class with Kimberly, because that's surface embroidery, what we're going to be doing in that class. So anyway, but I think I've spoken up enough about my embroidery, and
Oh,
I'll
that's
give somebody else
hey,
a
that's
chance.
what this is all about. I
Oh, but
mean,
I do want to point out one other thing that I have with me right now. I'm drinking my tea out of my Carly mug.
oh. So yeah, and I guess does everybody know who Carly is? I guess we've got some new people, so Alina probably doesn't know. But yes, I will be seeing Carly when I start my Sheer and Share tour and I head down south. So she's down in Virginia with Lana, who is another one of ours, and JC, who I know Elizabeth is very fond of. And oh, and then she's also with Nessie, which is from Carol's farm. But yeah, she's doing great, and she's huge. She's
Now,
absolutely huge.
now, just refresh my memory. Was Carly the one when she was born? She had all those medical issues.
Yes, she was the one that when she was born, she had what was called choanal atresia. So basically, she had no rectum, she had no hole. And then we had rushed her to the hospital, and which 5 hours away, that's not quite of a rush. But,
Mm-hmm.
and that was all during COVID, which is really when a lot of you, I mean, not you, Maria, necessarily, but when a lot of people really started to be part of the community because I was more out there on social media. And I remember I had such a hard time wanting to share that whole experience because, it was very difficult and very tragic, right? But at the same time, like so many people got invested in it, and I really did feel bad. I didn't, I didn't want to like weigh people down, with our issues per se, but it really was something everybody kind of championed behind her. So yeah, she went through 2 different surgeries because the first surgery didn't work. And then we had to take her back. But also, if you remember, when I brought her the first time, they had her under and they were trying to correct it one way and then called me and said we can't, so our only other option is to try to incise her abdomen and go through that way. And did I want to do it? And I'm like, well, at this point I can't say no, so it was like then, and they said there was going to be like a 25% chance, that was going to work. And so it was just, that whole wait and see, kind of thing. And ultimately it worked, but that didn't hold up. And then she went back
Ready to
again
take your
for
shower and settle for the night, Dad?
another visit. In which case, then that was ultimately.
I'm gonna stay another 10 or 15 minutes.
But yeah, so that was definitely like a trying time and a very expensive time. So so many of you were so kind and had wanted, right, to donate to the cause. And I really wholeheartedly believe, I'm not going to just take people's money. These are my children, they're my responsibilities. And I know people have GoFundMe's, and I'm sorry, unless things are absolutely tragic, I just don't believe in them, because I take on these animals and they're my responsibility. But then that's where the second time around, I'm like, all right, we got to figure something out here. But yeah, and then we came up with the cups, and that was really kind of fun. So you know what? Yes, it gave people an opportunity to donate, but at the same time, you got something for it, and now everybody still enjoys drinking out of their Carly cup, which was really super fun. So yeah, and I still have mine too, for sure. So, but yeah, she's doing great, which is amazing. And like I said, she's huge and can be a little little bratty, but it's really fun when I go to see her every year. So I'm looking forward to that as always. But good, thank you. What about anybody else? Anybody else working on anything in particular that they want to share? I see fingers going. I was going to say, Laura, what are you working on? I know you must have swung by here to grab your package.
I did. I did. I'm working on the Mumford mitts.
Oh, there you go.
So one is done.
Okay.
And I'm working on the other one.
Lovely. Are you enjoying it?
I am. And I finished my poncho. That was also a Kimberly McElin.
Did the lovely locks pop over?
No, I didn't do the lovely. I did the one with the pattern on the bottom. I think I told you about it when I saw you.
The Sheridan shawl.
Yes.
Oh,
wonderful. So I finished that. So yes.
Oh, good.
I loved it. I didn't think I was going to be able to do that bottom, but I said, worst case scenario, I'm going to just call Kimberly.
Absolutely.
But I did it. I figured it out. I just took my time, and it's one of those things because it has the cables. You really just have to focus. Just focus, and it went well.
Oh, good. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I'll have to. I'm going to try and reach. I have a fresh batch of curls that I sorted, and they're on the table drying. But I didn't get it. I have to make sure I take a picture of it, but I wanted to show, I don't know if it's going to be as easy to see, but these were some Gotland curls, but can you see this black tip on the end? And it's so cute because now from a next to skin soft fiber perspective, this is when you get tips like this, it's more of the hair. So that's actually, it would be almost very similar to like a llama where they've got the soft underdown, but then they have the outer guard hairs. And that's the thing with sheep, anytime you see cool stuff like this, different colors, it's usually a lot coarser. And that's the case. But some of these curls were like so big and fat and cool. And then they all had these like little black hairs on the tips. So I was kind of really enjoying that because again, as I said, from a yarn perspective, this wouldn't, necessarily be something that you would want to turn into a yarn. But from a curls perspective and like doing the project that you're doing, they're amazing. They're these big, fat, chunky curls with this cool texture on it. So yeah, I was all excited about that. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. Good.
Well, talking about knitting, when are we going to get the knit along pattern?
Well,
because
as you
I
know,
want to start
since you've been with us every year, you get it a week before it starts, ma'am.
Oh, gosh.
Now, I will say though, okay, yeah, and actually I made a note. So, what I'm gonna show you. So, right after, like, I'm trying to find my words, right? So we release the actual. Now, God bless all of you who jumped on board and has already signed up for the workshop / knit along, really totally before even seeing the piece, but knowing that it's embroidery. And that's just such an amazing testament to all of you that have been with us every year, or even people that haven't. And you're just like, well, shit, I'm just going to jump on board. I'm sure it's going to be fabulous. So at Vogue, like we started it so early, the pre-registration, to make it part of TDOC. So then at Vogue is when we actually release the piece, the pattern. But then what happened is, so I came home, I had the stuff with me because Kimberly leaves early, which is always the case. And then I ship it to her. But this year, immediately, Kimberly left for, where is she? Indiana or Illinois to go do her Annie's Attic thing. So she didn't get the piece fast enough. And really, she's had so much going on this year that a lot of times she'll take some nice professional photos before we get to Vogue so that we can then get that email out to share with everybody. So as soon as she comes back from Indiana, we'll be able to do that. Now, I am trying to catch up with her to potentially just say, hey, the cute little picture I have of you and of me. Can we at least just get that out to people so that they can see that part of it? But let me show you, because I made a note because it occurred to me that I haven't posted because I didn't necessarily like have her permission. But I want to show you as best as I can. So first of all, wait, let me make my screen bigger so I can see what you guys are looking at. Okay, so if everybody can see that. So that is the, wait, hang on, I got it, there we go. Ugh, it was better this way. I had it and then I lost it. There, can everybody see that? Is that a little better? Kind of, sort of. So terrible trying to show pictures, and I should have done it so I could just like share screen.
Oh, when you turned it at a slant, it was better. No, the other way.
I had it.
Yeah, you did.
I know.
What if you turn down the screen brightness on the phone? Would that maybe help? Because it's white? I don't know.
I don't know. There. Can you see
There,
that?
it looks pretty good right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Getting a phone call. Hang on. All right. So now this, I'll show you. So I'm wearing it one way and Kimberly is wearing it a different way. I will say, for those of you that know the Little Rivers poncho, this is very similar to me in the sense that what I love about this piece, really it's stunning. And you can wear it 3 different ways. So I am wearing it, I like it asymmetrically. So I'm wearing it asymmetrically. Can you guys kind of see that? See how it's going this way?
Mm-hmm.
There.
Yeah.
See? So I have it kind of turned to the side so that the point is going on the side. Now Kimberly was wearing it. Now this is her kind of doing a little twirl. But there's Kimberly wearing it. So she's wearing sort of the shorter part in the front, and then her seam is in the back. So the seam for her is right down the middle, where I was wearing the seam down along my shoulder, if that makes sense. And then the other thing you can do is that the seam that's in the back, her back, can then be your front. So there's 3 different ways, really, in which you can wear it. Now, the only thing we didn't get a picture of was the headband. And I should have snapped a quick picture before I shipped it off to her, but it just has been so crazy I didn't even think about that. And the beautiful thing about it too, for instance, if you wear it with the seam in the front so that the longer part of it is in the front, I would really envision, can't see my fingers, I would really envision doing embroidery along the seam so it doesn't make the seam quite so pronounced. And then you could even do embroidery around the neckline. You can really do as much as you like. And that's the beautiful thing about it is, she's going to be teaching the techniques for you to then be able to apply it in any way that you want. So she did her main piece in that Falkland wool, which ties back to Linda, which I had said last night in the presentation. I just got, 68, it's supposed to be 70, 68 more skeins shipped to me from this past harvest, which was great. I was very much waiting for that. But at the same time, I know people have made plenty of other choices. As beautiful as the pieces that Kimberly made, I could never wear that. It would never last a day in my life at all. It's too delicate for me. I mean, even when I was wearing it, I felt like, I was just like, don't touch me. Like, I felt so responsible for this. It's just way too delicate for me, and the color would not be for me. But it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful nonetheless. And I think it'll be something that can be showcased in so many different fibers. So, I will say as a precursor, if there's anybody If there's anybody that, has not jumped on, of course, registration is going to go right up until we begin the knit along, which is February 26th. So now what I suspect is going to happen is while I'm on vacation, Kimberly and I are definitely going to schedule a live. So we'll definitely be doing a live next week. We would have done one this week, but like I said, she's really busy. She's filming all day, every day. She left on Sunday to go for Annie's Attic, and she's not going to be home until the end of the week. So I will, catch up with her. I'll continue to do some promotions. We'll get some emails out. And yeah, hopefully, if you haven't joined us, maybe just getting that little sneak peek will help, and we'll continue to grow our community. Does anybody have any questions about it? Because otherwise, the whole point of it is that you don't have to begin. Remember, it's not necessarily a knit along. It can be. We like for people to do that, but at the same time, we don't want people to be discouraged. If you're like, I've got too much going on, I've got too many unfinished projects, I've got too much on my plate. Remember, buying in at this point just gets you all of the explanations, the tutorials. Like I'm thinking of Laura. Laura was not part of our community when we did the second knit along, which was the Sheridan shawl. So now she went back to do it. And as she was talking about it, she was a little nervous about the bottom and the cabling. That was the significance of the workshop that year, is that if you joined on, there are videos and tutorials that Kimberly created to be able to work you through that step by step. That was part of the learning technique. So just remember that even if you're like, I can't join you in February or March, I don't have time for it until later. It doesn't matter if you don't have time for it until 2 years from now. You have access to those videos and to that information to be able to apply it to your life when it works for you. So that's my message with that. And I know, Elizabeth, you're not alone. There have been several people that are messaging me and wanting to get information, and you gotta hold your horses. That's the whole point of it. So we will make sure. There was an email that went out with yardage. I know that there are some issues of people not getting it. So if you have already signed up and you did not receive the email, it's a minimum of 814 yards of fingering weight. And then she suggests a 5% overage for swatching. So I think all in total, it came out to like 854 yards is what her suggestion is for fingering weight. And then at the same time, needle size, that would be the other thing that we will definitely get to you ahead of time, so that you've got your yarn and you've got your needle size. You'll get the pattern the week, like pretty much like right before it, so that way you can be ready to go. And then we all begin from there together. So hopefully that answers anybody's questions.
I do have a question, Tabitha.
Yeah, go ahead.
I bought 3 skeins of the Falkland white.
Yep.
Which is enough for the
we can see them after
scarf.
Yeah.
And then I bought one skein of the colored Falkland.
Yep. Okay.
Which is enough for the headband.
Oh, yeah. You'll probably even be able to get 2 out of that.
But my question is, the headband, it says X number of yards, which is basically 1 skein.
Right.
Will I have enough to make the headband plus do the embroidery on the scarf?
Oh, on the piece, you mean?
Right. What I would really like to do is have the headband in one color and do the embroidery in white on the headband, and have the white scarf with the
Gotcha. Yeah, I would think so. The other thing too, though, is, as I just said, it really depends on how crazy you want to get with your embroidery, right? It depends on how much you want to do. And I will say Kimberly is a fan of that, meaning she loved, as much as she had fun, her taste, right? This is all, I forget what knitter's choice is what she likes to say. But the colors that she chose and sort of the inspiration of the forget-me-nots on the shawl, poncho, whatever you want to call it. She said she personally preferred the headband where it was a solid color. So the headband happened to be in green. And like you said, the embroidery was all one color. She did it in white. So, and she actually chose, her own stash busting. So that's the other thing too. I mean, you will absolutely, I believe you will absolutely have leftovers, because if you've got 3 skeins of Falkland, you really only need 2. And 2 skeins would be plenty. So you'll have plenty of overage to be able to embroider your heart away. And let's say you want to add a little bit of color. I know part of what she's going to be talking about is to help you make choices about what's in your stash and how you can use it, because it doesn't have to be fingering. You're not going to want to choose bulky, but that's part of, what she's going to be working everybody through also. But yeah, you'll absolutely have enough.
Yeah, because it's the color of the headband
that you want to do it right. Yes, I'm sorry.
I don't want to do white on white. I want
no. I got you now. Yes, that was I understand what you were saying, and I was just saying it the wrong way. So again, I know she said you really only need half a skein for the headband, depending on the yardage. Now, right? So if you're going to be choosing your own yarn, which is great, and even in my own fingering choices, there's different yardage in the yarns. So I don't have the exact yardage for the headband, but I know I'm going to say even the skein that she used was the olive drab, which I think was just shy of 400 yards, which the Falkland, so if you're looking to use the Falkland dyed, that's 437.
Yeah, it's one of the huge ones.
Yep. Yeah. So you're good. So you're good for sure. So yeah, that's the thing. There's going to be, I actually can't wait to see all of the different variations, right? Of like what everybody chooses, because everybody's going to have the ability to, create their own. And I think each one is going to be different because of the embroidery and people using their stash for that. So I think that's going to be the fun part of it for sure. So I look forward to seeing that. And then it'll be interesting, like, people like Maria and yourself that are already involved, and anybody else. Does anybody else do cross stitch or embroidery outside of, their knitting crocheting habit? Anybody else do that already? Right? Patty is saying she does. So Sandra's got her hand up as well. So that'll be nice. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be still, tips and tricks and things in ways in which she applies it, to the knitting aspect of things versus your actual medium that you use for cross stitch and embroidery. Actually, I should pull out my wedding dress from way back when I had embroidery with my yarn. I have to make a note of this to bring it out for the knit along. But my wedding dress actually was French knots using my yarn. So it was a lace material, and then it actually got shipped off to India and got beads and French knots done with all of my yarn, which was really kind of cool. Made it kind of special. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'll have to.
I used to hate French knots until somebody showed me a way to do it. And so I used to cheat when a pattern called for French knots for the eyeballs. I used to use beads instead because I could never get my French knots to look the same.
Yeah.
And when you're doing eyes, that's kind of important.
Yeah, and I just know the term. If you even ask me to point out a French knot, I have no idea. I just know that that's what's on my dress, and I'm like, fabulous. And it was cool and fun, and it was my yarn, so that was kind of really special that way. But yeah, I don't know a darn thing about it otherwise. So but yeah, so that'll be cool. I made a note to bring that out. So anyway, so that's so that's our piece for the knit along. So keep an eye out. I'll drop some stuff on social media, and I am more than happy when I'm on vacation to continue to work, and will revel in being able to come to you live from hopefully sunny Dominican Republic. But that'll be fun. So anybody, I have, before we I have a couple of other things, but anybody else, I love, our conversations go in a million different directions. That was only two people, right, talking about what they're working on. Anybody else have anything that they're working on that they want to share?
Way too patient and my husband insists.
Well, I'm just working on finishing up a bunch of yarn I had for prayer shawls.
Oh,
So it's sort of clearing out, you know, it's I don't know if you can see it. It's a sort of a, you know, big needles. They go fast. I'll give them to,
nice.
you know.
Now, is that, so you are doing that and then you give them to the church? Is that?
Yep. Yep. And, you know, or I'll give them to people who are sick directly, but usually we give them to the church. And you know. So I was cleaning out my attic and I found a bucket of the leftover yarn because we used to do a lot of this. And I thought, aha, I will finish this up. You know, one more thing cleared out.
Oh, hey, right. And it goes for a good cause, and some
Right.
people really appreciate it. So that's what's lovely about it. I love when people can do selfless knitting for things like that. And especially like you said too, if it's on big needles and it goes fast, you know, then it's nice to make good use of that for sure. Well, good. Anybody else? Anybody else want to share what you're working on? All right. Well, I know on my end, I made sure I kind of opened up my calendar just to kind of keep everybody posted on a couple of things coming up. Before we know it, February is going to be over, and I have another newsletter that will be coming out. If I don't finish it before I go on vacation, I will finish it while I'm on vacation. So for those of you that are part of the Llama Adoption Program, I know some of you that are on here tonight are part of that with me. So my newsletter will be going out, just kind of updating the how many Gail left, and now I can't remember. 37. I think it's 37 moms, the 37 moms that Yahtzee has. And so that it's fun, you know, just to kind of, there's different levels. So different people are doing different things. Some of us Zoom every month, you know, other people, you know, just get the newsletter and, you know, got their initial, he's home, he found chicken. You know, other people have their initial certificate. So, you know, everybody's got different levels of involvement. If you follow my stories also, John, our friend John, who was a part of TDOC this year. So he has Yahtzee's fleece, and he had just posted a story not too long ago that his new comb and hackles came in that he was all excited about because he was waiting for them to be able to begin to start to process her fleece. So for people of level 3 and 4, he will be hand spinning her baby fleece, and everybody will get a little bit of that. So that'll be fun. And some people got stitch markers, but in the newsletter, there are still more stitch markers left. So there's just fun things like that. If you, you know, had not known that I kind of put this new little program together. I will say keep your eyes and ears out because for some of my level 4 people and I have been talking that there's definitely going to be a chapter 2. And so whether you are going to look to continue, or maybe if you didn't get on board of our Llama Mama program, then maybe you might want to get on board in chapter 2. So hopefully it's been fun for those, and depending on, again, what level they're at and the experience they've gotten as a result of it. But we will be kicking off our show season in March. So I know it probably doesn't apply to too many of you here, but in case if anybody is relatively nearby, we will be doing our first show in mid-March, which sounds so far away, but it's like a month away. Basically, as soon as I come home from the vacation, then I've got like less than 3 weeks to get ready for our first llama show. And, you know, the significance of this is like, because it's been a challenge. I mean, we haven't been able to do anything with the animals, you know, between the ice and the snow. It's not like we can really work with them. It's not like we've been able to get them out. It's not like we've been able to go on our hikes or practice obstacles. So I'm hoping things clear up a little bit so we can at least, you know, remind them of what their responsibilities are. But we will be setting off for Cloverdale, Indiana, in case if anybody is remotely nearby there, which I don't think in our grouping tonight there's too many people. But but I do have a couple of lifers that started to meet me there, which is really kind of always fun. So I do look forward to that. So Yahtzee, of course, who's our adoption llama program. So she'll be going into her second year of showing. So we're excited about that. And then Mimi, baby Mimi, who was born on the farm this past year, she will be going to her first show. So that should be fun because we haven't really done too much. And she's a bit of a firecracker, but that might work in our favor. So I'm excited to get her out there. I know Elizabeth in the chat is asking if a Stewie yarn will ever be available. And so, yes, it was something that has been talked about. As you know, I'm still in some challenges with mills that I'm using and the ability for a mill to dehair or not. And so I am in the process this winter of really organizing all of my fleeces. And I have them in many different areas, unfortunately. So I've been trying to do a better job of that. I will say in the mill now, and it will be done for August, and then as we go into the fall, Sir Arthur, who's Stewie's dad, so I had an accumulation because I also have to have a certain amount of poundage. And even though I should have enough of Stewie, I'm not sure because I actually need 10 pounds, or I need 10 pounds plus, or I need the equivalent of enough of the base fiber plus what I'm going to be blending it with. So for instance, if I have, let's say 8 pounds, but I know that I want to incorporate some wool into it and some silk into it, as long as that entire blend meets a minimum of 10 pounds, then I'm good. So to try to solely make a Stewie yarn, that's the first thing I have to look at. And then the second thing I have to look at also is the quality and whether or not I feel like it will be nice enough without being dehaired. On the other hand, if I decide to just do something smaller, then I can also commission John, as well, but from a more production standpoint, if I can get the mill to do it, that's what I'll be looking for. So definitely stay tuned. But if you can suffice to be excited about his dad, then that's where we're starting. And then the interesting thing, but it was totally not intentional, I was just scrambling to try to find as much nicest fiber as I could because this mill doesn't dehair. So back in the day when I bought Sir Arthur, I also bought another llama with him whose name was Belisario. And Belisario we kept for a little while, and then Belisario we showed him and everything. He ended up going to our local wildlife park, ecology site, but I get to keep his fleeces. So right now in the mill is actually Belisario and Sir Arthur, who have not lived together for quite some years, but now we're going to have yarn separately, but from both of them. And then interestingly enough, unfortunately, this wildlife park, ecology center as it's called, is part of our town and unfortunately has been cut from the budget. And there's reasons behind it, I'm sure, but they have to place all the animals. So I don't know for sure, but Belisario might be coming back because he lives there along with one of our alpacas from a long time ago. So
is that the zoo that they shut down?
Well, it's not a zoo. It's the. I mean, a lot of people we call it the Holtzville Ecology Site, or is the Brookhaven Wildlife Center. So yes, and yes, in a sense, it got extricated from the budget. The facility is still going to be there. They just have to get rid of the animals. And that
then I'm thinking of something else because there was also something in the town of Brookhaven about a zoo that had all sorts of violations.
Oh no! I mean that wouldn't be.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Because
I never knew this zoo existed until I read about it in Newsday.
I mean, here's the only thing I'm thinking is sometimes people do refer to this as a zoo. I am not aware of violations unless they used things like that to supposedly be a reason of why they cut the budget from it. So I'm not exactly sure, but there's no zoo.
No, but there was a lot of like animal deaths or whatever. And I never heard, I mean, I know about the ecology center because that was just down the road from the YMCA.
Yes. So I do have a feeling, though, that that is one and the same. Here's the
Okay.
thing. There were groups that got involved unnecessarily, and there were claims of XYZ to
Okay.
whether or not all these animal deaths, just the same as, although there was, for instance, our Long Island Game Farm, there was one death of a giraffe and like the world exploded. Like animals die all the time, folks. Like it's what happens. But groups unfortunately get involved and then have their opinions about XYZ of why an animal died, and then it just gets carried to the nth degree. So it happened a number of times in our area this year, which is really a shame. So I'm sure it was either one of those two things. I just don't know that I would necessarily agree with maybe the accounting of the happenings. And only
Okay.
because I work there for them, I shear these animals, I'm there. And then actually Christopher, who just got home, he's there more frequently than I am because he takes care of their Mustangs and their donkeys and whatever else. I'm looking because I don't know what they have. So yeah, so sometimes news is what it is, right? It's not always
Right. Yeah.
it's not always accurate, but either way, that's probably the case. So either way, all that to say
But
that
I know it happened like right before I was moving,
Mhm.
and I'm like, gee, I didn't know the town had a zoo.
Well, like I said, sometimes people call it that, right?
Right. So
So I'm just kind of looking back into our chat. So Jillian's asking, how much shearing does it take to get 10 pounds? So that's a great question. And it really depends on the animal. It depends on how much fiber is coming off that animal. It depends on the density of that particular fleece. So generally speaking, when you shear, we're talking about llamas, but even alpacas, you're utilizing the barrel, which is the middle section of the body of the animal, not the under part, not the belly. So literally just the sides of the body. In alpacas in particular, that is considered number one. And then there's twos and threes. Twos would be like shoulders, haunches, and maybe a few other things. And then threes would be like the neck, the underbelly, the legs, like kind of all the scraps. For me, when I shear llamas, if they are being shorn entirely, I will utilize the barrel along with just a part of the haunches and a part of the shoulder to incorporate in what I will put into a yarn. So it really depends. I mean, that could be, for instance, when I shear a baby and I'm just taking off the fleece, it could be a half a pound. It could be 3/4 of a pound because they're little and there's not a lot of density there. On the other hand, when you get an older animal, a larger animal, or an animal that maybe has more fibers per square inch, so you're getting density and you're getting increased weight, you could maybe get up to, I would say, 1.5 pounds is maybe about the most for llama. You're always going to get more on an alpaca because alpaca has more density than a llama does. So, all in total, you're probably looking at least 8 fleeces, especially again, as I said, if we're not trying to meet the 10 pounds because we know we're going to be blending something with it. But yeah, it's quite a bit. So when I'm trying to just make a yarn with one particular animal, normally I don't do that. But because I have been sort of saving, not intentionally, fleeces over the course of these years, now as a necessity, right? It's really giving me a fun opportunity to be able to create single animal yarns. Or in the case of what we did last time, we had Layla and then her daughter Georgia and then her son Munson. They're all in a yarn and we have that in stock. And some people I know purchase that to do for the workshop for the knit along. So it's been fun, part of that conversation of the post COVID and the mill changes. We talked about that a little bit last night in our conversations with Wild Fibers and Linda Corray. There's things that come out of it which are a shame, but at the same time, it makes you pivot and forces you to do other things, which, then we can kind of smile in the beauty of that. So I'm definitely having fun for lack of better words, I don't have the time, but I'm having fun, going through the fleeces and uncovering things that have been there, and organizing it, and then also finding uses for other fleeces that maybe are not the quality that I would want for yarn, but trying to look for my own dryer ball resources, or, there are places where you can have things woven. So, hopefully some new things coming down the pike, but everything's got a very long wait time. So you guys just got to hang in there with me. Let's see what we got. And then Elizabeth says, I'll buy Sir Arthur yarn if it encourages you to do Stewie yarn. And yes, I mean, look, all of this is encouragement in that sense too.
Me too.
New and new and fun things out there. I'm actually just curious to see what Sir Arthur's yarn looks like. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat, it's probably going to be brown. But when you look at him, he has that more reddish brown, but he's got black, he's got white, and he's got some grays in his fleece. So there's really a little bit of everything. So it'll be interesting to see. Belisario, on the other hand, he is all white, but beautiful. His fleece was so fine that when I would take him to shows and we would wash him, we use a purple shampoo. It's like a brightening shampoo, but his fleece was so fine, it would soak it up. If we left the purple shampoo on too long, there was one time I did that, and he was like a lovely lavender. And we just had to rock that because you can't get it out. It just has to dissipate in its own time. So other animals, I can put it on and just let it soak in, and it helps to kind of brighten that whiteness. But his just, the fineness of his fiber, it just soaked it right up. I was like, ooh, all right. And the funny thing is, when you go in the ring like that, everybody knows what you did. So, all you can do is just kind of laugh at it. But so that'll be fun. And then, another, which, because I don't even know if I had a chance to mention, maybe I did, but then I have a Jack yarn. Jack, my sheep who's 16 and blind. I had years worth of his fleeces. And I have an early piece that I had knitted from their baby yarn. And so I'm excited about that. And, look, undoubtedly, 30th anniversary. Wait, what? Looking at my Carly mug, I realized this year, oh my Lord, is it 96?
It says a stab on the back side. It says Long Island Yarn Farm established 1996.
I don't want to.
And I realized your 25th was during the height of COVID.
Oh my gosh.
Got to do something this year, Tabitha. Oh, that's a major milestone.
That is crazy. And yes.
Well, that would dovetail with Sir Arthur yarn.
It's going to be with anything I do. I can't believe I never put that together. Thank you, Maria. Yeah, really, for me, was it necessarily Long Island Yarn and Farm? No, because those of you that have been with me long enough, you know that I started out as Long Island Livestock. And I
still have some yarn that has the old labels on it.
Yep. And really, before that even came into play, the reason why I used 1996 is because in 1995 is when I was introduced to llamas as a result of my job for Cooperative Extension. And we actually got our first llamas on the educational farm in December of 95. So I'm like, okay, it's 1996. Ideally, I think I technically didn't make my first purchase till 97, but I feel like for me, 96 is just when my whole life switched to llamas and my education about llamas.
And you started this when you were 5, right?
Hey, thank you. Absolutely. I was a young prodigy and had already graduated college and already had a beginning career in a not-for-profit organization. Holy shit, 30 years. There's nothing I can say. Actually, there's nothing that I've done longer than 30 years other than living, which is really pretty cool. Maria, thank you so much for bringing that up.
No, because I'm looking at the back of it, as the way I put it down, and I'm like 96. Oh, wow. Wait a minute, that's 30 years ago. And that blows my mind when I watch a TV show or a movie or whatever, and like from the 90s, and I realize it's over 30 years old. Like, how can that be? Because I'm not that old.
I know, I know, absolutely. But you know, this is great because I'm I could tie my shoes. um I'm just laughing. I think yeah, you know what's perfect is right on vacation, interestingly enough. I mean, even though plenty of people like check out, um I I don't. I mean, I use that as a time to reflect and think and plan and kind of like rejuvenate. I get ideas. So this is going to be really, really good food for thought to really just start to headline it, to get it out there. Because yeah, I mean, I got my job in March of 95. And then very quickly we delved into this whole world of llamas because we had a dog attack almost immediately when I was hired. And yeah, I remember by December of 95 is, you know, when we got the first llamas on the farm, but I had already begun, you know, my research and things before that. So exciting, so fun. All right, now I got a whole new project planned for this. So that's excellent. Um, but yeah, so that's, I mean, I don't even know where we went. Those are some yarn things, you know, coming down the pike. I will be adding more on. So August is going to be a big drop, or I would say pre Rhinebeck, right? Because I just know I'll be getting it back. But that's how crazy it is now. I mean, I brought them this fiber back in January. And you know, I'll see it in August, which actually is a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So I have the opportunity to keep adding to it until the end of June. So I'm excited about that, and definitely will take the opportunity to do that before I start shearing. Um, Other news in the home front. Before, make sure you got on your calendars. I don't even have it on my calendar. March 11th will be our next community night. And by then, I potentially might have delivered Nate and Tate to their new home. Everything has been stalled due to the weather. And then more than likely by the end of the month, but at least by then I should probably know, then Roger and Appa will be going to their new home. So lots of changes, you know, coming down the pike. And you're definitely going to want to stay tuned because, as I mentioned with the adoption program, then there might be a chapter 2 with also another addition there. So we're got things in the works always. Outside of that, I just wanted to quick share with you guys. Hopefully you all received our newsletter. We did get that out. God bless Jill, because she got the cooties from her husband. So she struggled to get some work in, but she took off today and then she'll be back. But we did kick out that newsletter earlier this week to make sure everybody knew community night was happening. And then just to say, hey, if you missed us at Vogue, you know, we did come home with almost a little bit of everything that we went there with. But there were some new yarns that I got like in the nick of time that we didn't get to show you. So I'll just quick show you because I know some of you are a fan of Stephanie from Asylum Fibers. I've done collabs with her before. Her colors are much brighter, louder, which is really fun compared to Shanna from Lamb Strings Yarns, which has more deeper, like moodier kind of yarns. So you can't start any brighter than this.
Oh, wow.
So she had given me, we were trying to think of like some name inspiration. So she was really thinking, you know, Mean Girls with this one. I will say ChatGPT is wonderful for helping me to come up with names for things. I'm going to just spotlight myself so I can try to hopefully get the colors. So this one I ended up naming On Wednesdays We Knit Pink. If anybody is a fan of, you know, Mean Girls. So it is as bright as it seems. It's just a really beautiful, bright pink. But when you look at it closely, you can see there's kind of little different colored pops. I don't know why it always gives me like a strawberry shortcake kind of feeling. So there's little hues, little nuances there. And this is on a Juliet base. So for those of you that were with us for last year's workshop Knit Along, Juliet is a Corriedale sheep in North Carolina. So it's a very, very springy I think soft. It's a very springy yarn. And this was a 3-ply that we had done. So I had just a few skeins left. These are all small batches. I mean, I think she only really dyed like maybe 12 all in total. And I think we sold a couple at the show. So this was a fun one. Very, very like signature for Stephanie. Elizabeth, I will say I totally thought of you. I love this one. I don't know if it's two-tonal or I never know what kind of green you're looking for. This one I named Wild Clover. So this one is what we call like I think they call it like a semi-solid, but I love this one. So it's green, of course. So of course, just in time for St. Patty's Day too, but very like kind of some sort of teal. So it's got like a little bit of like a little tiny bit of a bluish hue, but some darker greens, some paler greens, some mintier greens. So this one is Wild Clover. These were done on the base, again, also from last year's knit along, because I had a lot done. So this is from a Long Island homestead. This is Benner's Farm. They have their own border Leicester sheep that I shear, and I was able to get a bunch of their fleeces from the last harvest. And we have a white blend that we did the EVB sweater in. And then there's like a very light gray blend that we also did. And then I've done some dyeing over those just to kind of jazz it up because I had quite a few skeins. So this one was done on the light gray blend. So that's probably where you kind of get some of these lighter hues. So I really love that one. This one was so that's Wild Clover. Then to kind of go along with that, this is actually on the same base. So they kind of go in pairings. Juliet was by herself. But then this one we called First Bloom. And so it's on the same base as the Wild Clover. So yeah, just kind of very fun colors, a little bit of everything, good spring colors. So these are all sport weight. So this is the In Bloom. So these two are on the same base. So not that they necessarily, I mean, they could work together, but they're just kind of like sister pairs. So that's Wild Clover and In Bloom. And then this one is another standalone. I will say I love the color on this. It's a more rustic yarn. Some of you might remember that I had a Valet's Black Nose yarn that I was able to get from one of my customers that now breeds them. So a Valet's Black Nose is not known for necessarily its softness, but it has a 20% merino blended in. So it's a more rustic yarn for sure. But this color, she said her inspiration, she called Canadian Tuxedo. And the inspiration was like from Justin Bieber and Britney Spears a long time ago when they were all in like their denim outfits. But I just absolutely love the color on this one. Still, actually, my friend Crystal Hyatt from Factory Girl Designs, she used this yarn and she did a cowl with it along with some other yarns. So again, nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's just, maybe for somebody it's going to be a little too scratchy for against the skin, but I really, really love the color on this one. And then these other two were also a pairing. So these were done on a Romney Merino blend that I got from the mill. So it's a New York-based fiber, if you will. So this one I called Dried Lavender. So a more muted purple for my purple friends, Maria. So it's a more muted purple. So I'll hold it back farther so you can see it. That's true color back here. So that is Dried Lavender. And then the sister to that is Faded Indigo. So kind of same look, but obviously you can get the gist of the different color. So then this is the Faded Indigo. So again, these are on a, what I consider, a sport weight Romney Merino blend that was milled by Bat and Kill. So these are the pair of them together. So yeah, and all of these are super small batches. Like I said, maybe about a dozen each, if that, depending on what we came home with. But just wanted to share them with you guys. I will post pictures. I've kind of got group pictures and things like that. But that was all in the newsletter, along with everything else that we talked about for tonight. So that was kind of all of the goodies that the jean suit era. Yeah, that's so. Again, I am not a pop, pop follower person. Like even the Mean Girls, honestly, I've never seen it. Hate me if you want, I've never seen it. So I had to like reference ChatGPT for like Mean Girl references because I understand it's sort of like a cult movie, meaning it's got its own following. Just the same as like what's that Halloween movie everybody watches that again I've never seen. I don't know. I know somebody will know it.
Halloween?
Scream?
No, it's
The Goonies.
No. Well,
Hocus
that's
Pocus.
horror.
Are you thinking of Hocus Pocus?
Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus. Yeah, there's just certain movies, right, that just kind of get like this like cult following. It just is this thing. And I guess Mean Girls is one of those. But again, I've never seen it. But there's all sorts of different sayings and things that would reference it. So I guess apparently on Wednesday, everybody had to wear pink if you were part of this group. So that was the significance of that. So apparently also when I told Jill the reason for the name of this, she like right away knew the picture that Stephanie was referencing because she texted it to me and of Justin Bieber and Britney Spears back in the day and their whole like, denim getup or whatever. So again, I would have no idea, but I still love the color.
I have no idea either, Tabitha.
Me neither. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, there's just some of us that's just not our thing, right?
I've never seen Hocus Pocus or Mean Girls.
Good. I don't feel alone then. That's for sure. I appreciate it.
I'll send you my copy of Hocus Pocus and you can watch it.
Well, I'll add that to the 1,000,001 things, right, that I need to catch up on. But it's all about priorities, right? Whatever we want to fit in our day. So, really, guys, for me, I mean, that's it. And I've got to roll and do things to get ready to go, like laundry and packing and stuff around the house. But so Hocus Pocus. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I know it's a huge thing. Every single time looking in.
And if you go to the Fiber Witch Festival in Salem, Massachusetts in April, it is actually held in the building where Hocus Pocus part of it was filmed.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
A very big draw.
I know Shanna Venz at that because of course that's like right up her alley.
Yeah.
So that is wonderful. And thank you everybody for the well wishes for my vacation. I'm just excited that it looks like we are going to be able to get off without any issues. Unlike 2 years ago, or maybe it was last year. I don't know. I slept in an airport. It was the worst experience of my life. I never want to do that again. So we definitely made sure we had a direct flight this time. So always an adventure for sure. But please keep in touch with me, everybody. And like I said, of course, I will continue to be on social and work and do all the things I do. So don't ever hesitate to text me or anything like that. We're in full communication down there. As I always say, I will start off the morning working until I just should not work anymore. And then that means the writing hand goes down and the other hand goes up and off we go with our day. So beware if you catch me later in the day. I don't know what that's going to be like. So I should say phone calls and texts, before noon. Have a little fun. Reach me afterwards. Who knows? So
a few cocktails for the rest of us.
I will absolutely do that. My pleasure. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for being with me. I really appreciated it more than you guys know always. So I needed this. I needed a little bit of reset and a little bit of a smile. And so thank you so much. And I hope you guys enjoyed as well. So
take care.
Have
fun,
everyone.
guys. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.